So what we're going to cover today is why is good food presentation important, the components of great food styling, top tips for dressing a plate or a dish, tools for presentation and styling, a demonstration of quick, simple and affordable decorating, garnishing and presentation techniques, and then I'll give you some links to some Food of Fact of Life resources. So now, through the magic of technology, we're going to switch cameras, and then you'll be able to see Denise, and Denise will be able to do her demonstration. So I hope you enjoy this. I'm really looking forward to it.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Denise Spencer-Walker. I'm the Food Communications Manager at AHDB. But my background is I'm a home economist. I've been a home economist for 30 years. And it's great to be here. I've worked with BNF over a number of projects, and I'm here to actually give you some hints and tips about food styling and presentation. There's lots of things to cover. I hope I don't run out of time. But what I want to do is just talk about tools that we need, props, and some hints and tips about garnishes and herbs and bits and pieces that I think will be useful for your classroom practical sessions. Why do we food style? Well, we food style because it's really just presenting food on a plate, really. And there's lots of different ways of doing it, but we eat with our eyes, as we all do. And the main thing you need to know is you want colour, texture, height, if you need height, and also overall appearance of your dish. And that will aid and help you desire the food, really. So I'll be here to give you a few hints and tips in terms of what directions you need to go, and to give you some ideas in terms of tools for your pupils to use. Now, when we're talking about tools, there are a plethora of tools that you can use as part of your food styling in your practical sessions at school. But obviously budget is very important. So I've got a few here, and I'm going to give you a few hints and tips as to where you can buy and pick up things fairly cheaply. First things which are really always useful are brushes. You can get them anywhere, in the pound shop, you name it. I wouldn't go to an artist shop because they're more expensive. And these are really good for brushing off bits of dust, moving food around on plates, and painting on food, and ingredients as well. This is a cranked spatula. This is a specialist tool, but you don't have to use this. Any ordinary spatula will work. And this is really good for lifting bits of lasagna or other little fiddly bits that you want to put onto your plate. I bought this from a specialist shop, but you don't have to. You can get these anywhere, and they're really relatively cheap. And they come in different sizes as well, so depending on how tricky or delicate the work that you want to do when you're presenting on your plate, there are lots of different sizes. Knives, a selection of knives. I've just got an ordinary fox knife. This one is very, very useful. This is a serrated knife, and it's really good for cutting things like tomatoes, which sometimes can get a bit bruised. But this is a serrated edge, and it's good for bread as well. And this is a really nice handle. By the way, I'm left-handed, so what I do, it's the other way around if you're right-handed. So, but I find that because I'm left-handed, how the handle is really, really important in terms of knives. This is a really cheap tool, but so effective. It's the best peeler ever. And I would recommend you get a couple of these, and you can't go wrong with them. They're so good to handle, left or right-handed, very good. And I'll show you some quick tips how to use this. A zester, really great for citrus fruits, and just adding the final garnishes that you need on a plate. A pair of scissors. These are just surgical scissors that you can get in the chemist or supermarket or art shop. Ideally, go to Poundland if you can get things like that. And they're really good for snipping herbs and cutting bits and pieces, really getting in to get a really close-up edge to various dishes that you're doing. I've got some Q-tips, which are really good for mopping up spills, and it helps to use Q-tips because it doesn't actually move your food around. So they're really good to have handy, easy to get in the supermarkets as well. Cocktail sticks, again, really, really good for moving things around. This is a skewer, just a wooden skewer that you can actually use. Very, very useful in your toolkit. And my favourite, tweezers. These are food stylist tweezers, but you don't have to use these. You can just get eyebrows tweezers. Really good for moving bits of food around on a plate and keeping the neatness in your plate, around your plate. So loads of different sizes. There you go. And I'm sure you've all seen these. These are sort of chefy things, but you don't really need these. You can pick these up on Amazon and all sorts, and it's good for sort of drizzling things around. But if you don't have them, you don't have to use them. These are excellent. When you're going on holiday, you tend to buy these to decant your toiletries. These are brilliant. I've just got water in here, and I just use them to mist over herbs, just brighten up and revive ingredients. And I've got one filled with oil as well that you can just spray on. Obviously, you don't want to use too much oil, but if you want to paint something to liven something up, this is great as well. And I've got a little one that I had that I use facial oil. I don't know whether you ladies use facial oil, but this was from a well-known brand, and I just washed it out and I used it. And this has got herb oil in that I'm going to actually use later on. And they're really, really useful for anything that you can find that you think will work in your classroom situation is great. I'm moving on quickly to plates. I've got a selection here that I'm going to be using, but don't spend a lot of money on plates. I would suggest that you go to car boot sales and just pick them up for 20p, 50p, whatever, and try and develop a prop store in your classroom, that you have an area where you've got a selection of different plates that you've bought quite cheaply, even teacups that the students can use if they want to actually use real plates for styling or for certain practical sessions. Really, really good. Also, a metal ring, which I'll be showing you what I'm going to be doing with this later on. You've all seen this, a blowtorch. I won't be using that today, but it's here and you know what we use it for. Lots of different bits like crushed black pepper, which is very useful as well. So it's, and also this one, this is a really good tool. If any of you live near TK Maxx, they do really good gadgets as well, and they're relatively cheap. I got this in TK Maxx, and it actually does julienne vegetables. And it's so quick and easy. So this is a good one to have as well. And also plastic spatulas, which are good to sort of really get under food, and they're dishwasher safe and spoons. So that's a quick rundown of some of the tools. This is just a small section of what I have, but these are the basic tools that you really need to elevate your presentations and your food styling. What I'm going to do is I'm going to try and, in the time that I've got, to style a starter, a main course and a dessert, and then go through some garnishes and some hints and tips. So the first starter I'm going to actually attempt to style in real time is a soup. Now I've got just a plain tomato soup, cream of tomato soup here, and it's in a really nice bowl. I hope you can see. Can they see? Can you see? Do let me know if you can see. This okay, bring it forward. Okay. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some tampon. I'm going to add a couple of drops of herb oil. Now you can make this herb oil by just buying some fresh herbs, soft herbs like coriander, basil, parsley and chives. You plunge them in boiling hot water for a couple of seconds, and then you blanch them in cold, ice cold water, and then you squeeze out as much moisture as you can, and then you whiz it together with some oil, grapeseed oil or vegetable oil, and then you pass it through a muslin square. And you end up with this lovely herb oil that will last in the fridge for 2 weeks, and you can just drizzle with all sorts, whatever you like. So I'm going to be using some of that to finish the soup. And I've just got some ordinary croutons that you can use stale bread, obviously, using up waste not, want not, but I've just bought some because I didn't have any stale bread. And I've got some freshly chopped parsley here. And I've got a little bit of natural yogurt. So I've actually put this, again, your plate or your bowl is really important. It's important to just have a bowl that's got a little bit of depth to it, which will accentuate the actual dish. I've chosen tomato soup because I like tomato soup. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to add a drizzle of the yogurt, and then I'm going to use my toothpick to just make a really nice arrangement. The children, the pupils can do this quite easily. It's very easy to do. I'm going to crush some of the croutons around. Don't need that much. Less is more, actually. You really don't need a lot of fine here. And then I'm going to add a couple of drops of the herb oil. I hope you can see. And it should be suspended. You can see I'm actually adding it onto the yogurt. And if you wanted to, you could like so. See that effect? It's so effective. And then we have some parsley, freshly chopped parsley. And there we have our soup. Hope you can all see that. Very, very quick, very easy to do. Okay. Hopefully I'll answer some of the questions later on in the session.
Sorry, Denise, just very quickly, there was what was the stuff in the jar?
This one. Yes. This was herb oil. It was homemade herb oil, which is a handful of a selection of fresh herbs, plunged in hot water for about 20 seconds, and then blanched or shocked in an ice cold bowl of water. And then that's taken out and that's dried as much as you can. And then it's blended together with vegetable oil. And then it's passed through a muslin square or a sieve, a muslin cloth. And then you end up with this that you can store in the fridge or whenever you want to use it for up to 2 weeks. Okay? Now the next dish I've got is a lasagna. And I've also made some cupcakes. So I'm going to see if I can do both. She says. Right, so so I know that lots of students do lasagnas and they end up with something like this, and they have to present it. And so I'm going to try and show a nice way of doing this, she said. So this was something that I just picked up at the supermarket, and I thought, what can I do with it? So I'm going to actually present it on the plate. I've used a really large plate with a good surface area, because the bigger the plate, the better, because you can have more of a dramatic effect. Now, you can either use, I'm just trying to find out which way to do this. So you can either use a ring, or you can cut out a section, which I'm going to do. And then don't worry, I'm cutting a section out, but the student can always put it back in the foil dish to take home. Okay, so before that, I'm going to actually dress the plate with some fresh leaves. Now this, a good way to keep your leaves really fresh is to take the leaves out of the bag that they're purchased in and just plunge them in cold water and leave the whole thing in the fridge. And this will keep them alive, because some of those bag salads, they're not very good. And you end up with sort of getting rid of half of the leaves. But this way, you get to keep, and they stay quite revived, actually. So as you can see, just stop them off with, just dry some off, and then you just arrange them on your plate. So, okay. And then I've got couple of tomatoes, my bendy spatula knife, which comes in really, really handy. Take a little section out. And then I'm going to put this back in and show you how, can you see the layers here? If you just take a portion of it out, it looks much nicer to present on a plate. So there we have our lasagna. Ground black pepper is your friend. You just put some pepper in there. And I've got some fresh chives. And might just again, if you've got a garden at school, you can grow some herbs on the window ledge in your food technology kitchen. It doesn't have to cost you a lot of money. You can grow them from seed, whatever you like. So there we have, and you could also, if you wanted to, add some more of the herb oil, because on a white plate, this is really effective. And you don't need that much. You can see it's so dramatic, and it looks like restaurant style. And the students can do this, they'll love to do this. So there we have it. But also, I'm going to put this back into the, shall I keep it? I was going to put this back in and then style it as if it was a student that had it, but I'm just going to put the tomatoes on here because we're running out of time and I want to cover everything. I wouldn't add the tomatoes because I think the colour before adding the tomato is much nicer, but you can add, if you're looking for the balanced plate and your nutrients and everything else that goes with it, you can add some just sliced tomatoes in there. Okay, so that's the second dish.
We just had a question from the chat about this one, from AIM, just saying we find it difficult to plate this when hot, and do you have any suggestions?
I wouldn't plate it as soon as it comes into the oven because it will collapse. So you need to give it a little bit of time to solidify, a couple of minutes, probably 5-6 minutes. And then once it's had the time to settle, then I would plate it. I wouldn't actually plate it as soon as it comes out the oven. Oh, that helps. Okay. The other dish, this is quite funny.
Special.
It's the cupcake. It's the cupcake. Right, so this recipe, do you have it on the is it on the
I don't think we have it, but we will put it on.
Yeah, it's on our website, Simply Vegan Lamb, and it's really quite dramatic, but it doesn't really take that much. So it's beef mince in a cupcake sort of. It's a take on a savoury cupcake, but you obviously get sweet ones. But this is the mixture. It's not actually cooked yet, but I've got some that I cooked earlier, and it's using potato as a topping. Now these lurid colours are different types of potatoes. This one is like a carrot and swede, or you can use sweet potato. This one is just ordinary potato with finely chopped beetroot. And this one is just ordinary potato with chopped chives. So I've got some here. So this is, I was trying to actually get these to, what you'd normally do, this is how you serve them. You put them on a plate. It's very, I'm trying to actually cover everything. So please forgive me if you think I'm rushing, but this is how they look. Oops, when they're cooked. And you pipe the potato on. I'm only going to pipe one of them on. Thank you, Francis. I'm only going to pipe one of them on. See that? I'm going to use, so I've just filled my plastic nozzle, my plastic bag, piping bag, with a plain plastic nozzle. And this is before you actually put it in the oven, because it goes in the oven at 180 degrees for 15 to 20 minutes. But this one that I'm actually going to pipe is not cooked, but the other ones are. So you just pipe concentric circles around so, like so. And that goes in the oven. You put it in a muffin tray and they go in the oven. And you end up with something like this. And what you do is you can just, I'm going to use some fresh thyme because just arrange the thyme over. But you can use whatever herbs you like, really. It's entirely up to you. And a couple of salad leaves as well. Just add some leaves in there. Nice. Try and find some rocket, actually, it'd be quite nice. So you sort of get the gist of what I'm trying to do here in terms of styling. And again, it's just looking, taking your eye. I'm using 3 rather than 4 cupcakes in a large plate. And it's just building and looking at the overall presentation and just adding the layers. That's one. Another one. Thank you, Francis. And then finally, pudding. Decided to go for pancakes. Everybody likes pancakes. So what I've got here is I've just got some American style pancakes. They're not hot, so apologies. And what I'm going to do, I've got some coulis that I've made earlier with just some stewed berries. And I've got a little bit of a compote. But you can do whatever you like, whatever the students want to do. Just add compote. This is a cherry one, but you can make your own, whatever's in season. And fresh berries. I'm going to have a dog natural yogurt on here as well. Obviously, if you're feeling a little indulgent, you can cream, but it's all about health. Get shot by Francis. And I've got some icing sugar and a little sieve, which come in handy. So I'm going to add And you can just style this however you like, really. And then this is the layering effect that I mentioned earlier. So, and then I've got some lovely blueberries, some strawberries. I'm just going to tumble over our pancakes. Go. That one in half. Then I'm going to put some, and then I'm going to use my cocktail stick to make a nice design. And then we finish with a little bit of ice. It's so effective. Here, you could use a bit of cinnamon or nutmeg to just add more colour and build the colour. So there we have our pancakes, and you could have, if you have fresh mint, you could have some fresh mint on here as well. There you have your really nice pancakes, and you can build as much as high as you like, as high as you dare. So there we have our really nice pancakes. Okay. Running out of space.
A couple of questions about the cupcake. So somebody's asked about what is your opinion on using gravy drizzle over these?
I'm quite happy with people being innovative. Gravy would be lovely. I love gravy, so I would drizzle gravy all over it as well. So that's the thumbs up for me.
Another one, the idea of the mini shepherd cottage pies will cook up quicker in class time.
Yes.
Ingredients can be downsized and easier to transport home. Thanks.
Good. You're
and
welcome.
Then another one, I'm also thinking of haggis versions for a twist on burn supper.
That's lovely. I like the idea. I do like them. That's very good. And you can mix and match. You can use veggie, mince, whatever you like, really. It's you can customize it to suit yourself. You can use different toppings, but I think it's really it's value for money, and they're relatively cheap to make, and they're quite effective. They look really, really nice. So, and the final section is all about garnishing. Am I okay? Okay. So quickly, excuse the mess. Right. So I'm gonna just do a little section on garnishes, really. I've got some already prepared, and I've just tried to include a few that are doable for your students. So I've got courgette, carrots, a lime and a lemon. This is fennel, and I've chosen fennel because sometimes you get these fronds, which are really good for garnishing as well. So if anyone has an allotment of gross fennel, they're really good to use these, and they're sort of that aniseedy flavour. So it was just an example, but there's so many out there that you could actually use in terms of styling, garnishing for styling. Garnishes for styling, yes. So I've also got here some lemon and lime zest that I've just used my knife, my zester, and I've put them in a small bowl of cold water. And when you do that, they curl up quite nicely. So if the students wants to do this at the beginning of their practical session, and then pop it in the fridge, and then when they come to style, they'll end up with these lovely, lovely curls. And you can do that with spring onions as well. So for the courgettes, I've just got these. I've used my my favourite TK Maxx tool, and this is just amazing. It's one of my favourite tools ever. And you can just blanch these, or you can use these raw in a salad, and it's so effective. And when courgettes, you've got a glut of courgettes in the summer, this is perfect. Or you could do it the old-fashioned way and just thin slices. Obviously, the students will have to watch themselves. But this way is much more tedious. And then you just get some really thin strips. But that gadget just does it all for you. You see, watch your fingers. You end up with a similar thing, but you don't get as nice a curls. So that's with the courgette. And the same with the carrot. I did the same thing with the carrots. You can do them with parsnips, you name it. It's so easy. And then you do the same thing, but obviously carrots so much, you have to be careful with the carrots. And then you can do them as thin as you like. And these are really effective. Like, for example, if you wanted to arrange them onto a dish, like so, that sort of thing, you know, in a nice arrangement. So that's your carrots. And then for the citrus fruits, I've got, I've just sliced a lemon, but when I style for recipe shoots, I tend to cut my lemons in a certain way to get this lovely, lovely shape. And before you say anything, none of it's wasted. So what you do is you need a really sharp knife, and you take it at an angle rather than sort of cutting it down in half and then in wedges. You get a really, really lovely shape, and then you turn it and you do the same thing, and you just get a lovely shape. And then you just carry on doing that. And people think, oh, not your lemon would you love it? So that's another trick. And again, you can just slice them and then cut them in half, and you can twist them. And these are great for fish if you're doing any fish dishes. Because presentation is so important. As I said before, people eat with their eyes. It's so important to actually finish your dish to get the maximum effect. So that's the same with the lime as well. And then you can, this isn't very good, my zester, but, oh, that one's awesome. There you go, you've got zest, limes, all sorts. There you go. And then for your, I've used these before, but it's great to just snip them. Just snip them. It's easier for the pupils as well. They don't have to cut around with. And a kitchen knife, scissors, a pair of kitchen scissors works as well. And what you can do is you can twist them together and all sorts of things you can do with them. Parcels. I've got my nails. Oh gosh. That's what happens when you haven't got any nails. Let's use a long piece. Right here. There we go. So, yeah. And then you can actually use that as part of your presentation. Lots of different tricks. But it's been a whistle-stop tour, so I hope you've taken quite a lot of inspiration out of this. And I'll love to answer any of your questions that you have.
Wow, that's fantastic, Denise. Thank you very much. I'm exhausted. You must be too. So we've got some lovely messages coming through about how fantastic that was. So thank you. I'm just going to go back to the PowerPoint quickly, just to finish it off, and then we'll come to you if we've got any questions. There we go. Right, okay, everybody. So just a little bit about the resources, and we've got some presentations which Denise helped to write about the art of presentation and food styling. So lots of Denise's hints and tips are actually included in that presentation, which might be useful for you to have a look at as a refresher, but also for your pupils to have a look at. And there's some really lovely images in there of different types of styling, including these lovely cupcakes. There's also some activities that you might want to do in school in a sheet. So we've got some tasks that you could actually set for your pupils around food styling, just to get them to think about it a little bit more. And then also some hints and tips, a bit like Denise was saying about not spending a lot of money on plates and crockery, but going to charity shops, going to boot fairs, and just building up a really nice selection of plates and crockery and cutlery that the pupils can use for their presentation. And then we've also got a really nice poster that you can download, which is again has got lots of different presentation styles on it, but also thinking about different events and occasions when you might want to actually style something. Bit more about resources. We've got some new global cuisine recipes online, which if you haven't seen yet, you might want to have a look at and use with your pupils. And this particular photograph on the screen now is from Deb Prigg, who's actually joined the call today, who joined us for a workshop. And this is her dishes that she made on that occasion. So thanks, Deb, for that. We've also got a news article online, which is about support for NEA2, which has got lots of links in it for resources that will help you with the planning of the NEA2 for your pupils, and then also for your pupils themselves for their research and any other activities they've got to do. And then we've also done some work recently about the cost of living and actually supporting pupils and parents in your schools. And some of what Denise was talking about today was thinking about how you can garnish things affordably. So we've got a number of resources online that you might want to have a look at that might support you and your pupils and the families. I just wanted to finish off really before we move on to training and other things and do a little bit of a gallery. Now, those of you who are of a similar age to me will remember Tony Hart and Vision On. And I did actually want to get the Vision On music for this, but unfortunately it's copyrighted. But this is our version of the Vision On gallery, and just some really lovely presentation from pupils and some teachers in here as well, but I just thought I'd share these with you just to see the kind of things that our pupils are managing in schools. So here's some more here which are just stunning, and then some others, and then these ones as well. So thanks to the teachers that sent these in. So Ellie Dixon, Deb Prigg, Charlotte Watkins, Wendy Malpass and Patricia Yaboa Afari, and their pupils particularly for actually doing these fantastic dishes and all the lovely different styles and presentation techniques that they've done. Before we go to Denise with any questions, just want to mention about some more training that we've got coming up. So we've got some regional conferences coming up in the spring next year. So we're going to Scotland in January. That's actually fully booked. But if you want to put your name on the waiting list, you'd be welcome to. We're coming to England in January. We've got a conference in London. Really, really good programme for all of these conferences. Northern Ireland, we're hoping to do something with Northern Ireland. That's probably online at the end of February. And then we're definitely going to Wales in March. And we'd love to see you there. And then we've got some more webinars coming up. So Ewan, who's been our cameraman today, he's going to be doing a webinar around using nutritional analysis in meaningful ways. We've got something coming up with FDF Scotland about reformulation for health. And then another colleague of ours, Stacey, is going to do a webinar on nutrition and gut health. And we have also got another virtual practical workshop in February, which is around food science and food skills. So thank you very much. It's been great having you with us today. I'm just going to see if there's any more questions for you, Denise. Lots of thank yous. Thanks for this, so useful. Great. Oh, how would you recommend plating spaghetti and meatballs?
Right. What you need is a sort of some tongs. So when you've actually drained your spaghetti and you popped it back into your pan with a little bit of the pasta water, you use your tongs to actually swirl the spaghetti around, and then you can actually take a portion and actually continue swirling until you end up with a little dome on your plate. And then you can actually keep adding and building the spaghetti up. And then you can add the meatballs, dot the meatballs around, and then spoon over or drizzle over the sauce. And then you can garnish with whatever herbs you've got, or cheese, or some breadcrumbs, or whatever you've got, toasted breadcrumbs. Yeah, but the secret is to use a pair of tongs and to get that action, that sort of swizzle action. You might need to do a bit of practicing, but it does work.
Great, thank you. And question I had actually, and it was perhaps with your spray oil that you've got in.
Yeah.
I always remember when we've been somewhere before and you have, we've had some beef burgers or something like that, and they looked a bit dry.
Yes.
And you had a bit of a tip around that. So if you...
Yeah, I mean, I would have mentioned it, but because it's sort of, we're trying to be healthy eating and all of that, I didn't mention the oil. But yeah, sometimes if things are sitting out for a long time, it's great to just spritz it with a little bit of, this is just vegetable oil. You don't want olive oil because it's too yellow, and it's slightly green as well. So you want a sort of like a clear oil, grapeseed oil, vegetable oil, sunflower oil. And what you do is you just actually, this carrot's looking a bit sad for itself, and you just, and then it sort of revives it. It's just amazing. You really need a little bit. You can use it for food, burgers, as Francis says, and it just revives the dish or the actual ingredient. Some people use glycerin. You can get glycerin in the chemist, and you can use that as well. But the oil is, if you've got it in your cupboard, I'd go for that. Or you can just use water. Just paint on a little bit of water with a brush. And that sort of revives it. It doesn't last as long, but it's just as effective. Just bring things to life. That's the tip. But don't forget these bottles; they're really good. Look out for them when it's the sort of holiday season, because the end of the holiday season they tend to sort of reduce them. So just grab those while you can. But it lasts forever.
We had a couple of things, Franz, that we missed just a little earlier on about your magical green concoction in the jar. So asking just how long it keeps, roughly?
2 weeks in the fridge.
Brilliant.
Yeah, but you don't need to make that much. I mean, I used a handful of herbs, I think, on Monday, and thinking how much I got, and you don't really need that much. And I don't think it freezes very well, so I wouldn't freeze it.
And could you do that with something like chilies?
Yeah,
a red coloured oil?
Could do.
Yeah.
But the herb oil is so effective. It's really, and it's pure. There's no sediment because it's using the muslin to and then you discard the gubbins from the herbs.
The technical term.
Yeah.
And we have one more question. This is from Lucy, and it was: can the classroom have a stock of coulis herb oil and other items that they can use as garnishes? And can they get marks in the final section for the use of garnish if they haven't made the garnishes themselves?
Well, I'm not
No, that's fine. And the answer is to that really. I thought that the students need to make the garnishes, and they need to make the oils and the coulis and the sauces in order to get the marks for them. The teachers can have them for practice, and I think that's a good idea if the pupils are going to be practicing, but actually for the exams they need to be making them themselves.
Brilliant. And one more question: any tips for food photography?
Oh gosh,
That's another one there.
Well, you're in the grammar. Yeah, I mean it's about lighting and all sorts, because if you're doing food photography, natural daylight is the best light to use rather than artificial light. But obviously, this time of the year, it's very difficult to shoot really good, natural light. You might need to have a bit of assistance with, artificial lighting. But the more natural, the better. Really, it's, and then that people will actually think that it's doable in terms of what you've shot, and they will want to actually try the dish. So, but that's another area.